I'm delighted to host the Il Divo, the ultimate group from the United States, from Spain, from Italy, from Swiss. Welcome to Cyprus, guys.
Well, you got almost it right.
Yes.
Swiss, America, France.
And Mexico.
Yeah, but I involved also Carlos, you know, yeah, that's why I
But
told
none
about
of us
Spain.
are Italian. That's the
Yes.
thing that's interesting with our name.
Yes, I know. How do you handle with all these kind of nationalities?
You know, it's an interesting thing. We were put together by a man who created an entire genre of music competition shows, Simon Cowell. Yeah. But the truth is, music is not a competition, it's a cooperation. And ultimately, when the four of us, Sebastian, myself, and Urs, and Carlos, were put into a room, we were asked to put everything else aside.
What was the first reaction when Simon Cowell called you and you were about to become Il Divo, which I think it's Italian and it means divine?
I remember that I was singing in Amsterdam at the opera at the time. Because I studied there, I lived in Amsterdam for 8 years. I heard about this audition. I know that Carlos was the first one to actually make it, the first one that Simon Cowell actually wanted into the group. I was the second one to get accepted, and then later on, just a few months later actually already, you know, they found David and Sebastian and the group was finally complete. It took us half a year to record that first album, and then it took another few months to actually start a whole promotion and everything. So we were just for a long time already in a process of kind of creating something.
You didn't thought about this, I mean, in the first place, because it was something that happened to you accidentally, right?
Accidentally? Oh, it was a nice accident.
It wasn't with a boat, okay?
You know, the thing with what Urs was saying earlier on, I remember that the four of us, with Carlos, were sitting in Simon's office and we were listening, Simon Cowell's office, and we were listening to Unbreak My Heart. That was the first song that we heard because all we did was recording and we never really heard anything finished. But we all sat there and I saw that everyone had a spark, you know, thinking, wow, this is going to be either really big or nothing, but I think we all felt like there was a huge potential. But it was an interesting moment for me personally.
I want you to think about the first reaction when Simon Cowell formed you as a group.
Well, Urs and myself and Carlos, we came primarily from an operatic classical background. And it's normal. It's absolutely normal when you're doing an opera or even doing a concert or something. And in point of fact, you know, I was the only one, if I remember correctly, at the time, who even knew who Simon was, because his TV career was just starting to take off. So I was like, and when they approached me and said, do you want to be part of this group? That's all that we were told. Here, you're going to be a group of guys, you're going to sing some songs. And so, you know, I was full-on in the middle of my operatic career, and I was like, okay, that sounds like an interesting project. We'll make a couple recordings, I'll go back to my life, was my expectation. Then we got in the room, and it was Simon Cowell sitting in front of me, and I was like, okay, this is not just put it on the shelf and go home. What's going to happen? I had to cancel 5 years worth of operatic engagements in order to get to the stage of being in recordings and releasing. Just work, focus, making something we could be proud of. And I think that translates when people listen to our music. They recognize how much work, how much passion, how much time, effort, and money it takes to make an album like this.
Of course, because you mentioned now the word album, I'll go to you, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, at the age of 14, you bought the first album of Il Divo, and years later you joined them.
Well, I didn't buy it because I didn't have money to buy albums at that time. But what happened was, so I did know Simon Cowell because I watched American Idol. And so when I had heard about, you know, and I was really interested in singing opera. So I started singing, taking voice lessons, and I started singing Mexican music, mariachi. That was like how I learned to sing. And then I moved into classical music from there. And then, watching American Idol, I had heard, you know, that there was this group of like opera singers that were all men and maybe my mom told me or something. And then I went to a bookstore in the U.S. and in the CD section there's all the CDs, and I'm going through the classical section, and then there's these 4 super good looking, almost models on.
You are also a model.
Oh, thank you.
That's why you joined the group.
Oh, yes.
And also you have that temper of the Mexican guy, and you have that kind of romance that I think all the group here has it.
Yes. So and then when actually an interesting story. Back in 2018, I got a message on Facebook from a recruiter that was looking for singers around the world, a world search for a group that was going to be similar to Il Divo, and they were looking to do auditions, and I actually auditioned for it.
They did not take you?
They did. I got to round 2,
okay,
and then they disappeared. But here I am.
Which speaks to what you were saying about the accident. Maybe a different way of saying that is the karma of Il Divo, bringing 4 people together, and then in this moment, when Carlos passed, bringing in someone who was just a wonderful fit to complete the band again.
What is your opinion about Carlos? I mean, what about the public opinion? What did they say to you? You are not a replacement because, you are authentic, and so I think you fit in this group. But what about the public opinion?
I've gone through many phases in my Il Divo life. I met actually these guys. I met David. We did a concert together, like at this point, 13 years ago or so. And then David was developing an album right before the pandemic, and we did a duet on the album. And then the pandemic happened. I think everyone was in a weird place mentally, emotionally. And Carlos got sick suddenly, and David, called me and said, "Hey, I was wondering if you might be willing to step in for a period of time until Carlos were to recover." And I said, "Oh yeah, I had COVID before. I didn't." Carlos was a strong guy. There was no expectation. I don't know him. I don't know him personally. I just met him for a few seconds backstage a couple times when I went to the Il Divo shows 10 years ago. So I don't think that anyone expected that what happened would have happened. These guys really wanted to honor him. He's an iconic figure in opera.
And you guys also honor him to your tour and to your concerts?
There is a moment in the show, but we did an entire year of tribute concerts for him.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
Now let's play the game, okay?
Yeah, let's play again.
So I have 4 different kind of stuff, okay? And you are going to choose which one do you want.
That one, just
This one? Yeah. This one.
They're perfect.
This one, and for you, the hourglass.
Oh, do we get to? Oh my!
It's fine, don't worry.
That's bad luck.
It's not bad luck, it's a
Bad luck, that's a bad clue.
It's the hourglass. Yeah.
You're not cursed.
It's the hourglass. It's fine. Don't worry. That happens.
There we go.
So
did I drop it?
No.
now you have 1 staff to your hand. Okay. From every staff, I would like to remember or to recall a memory that you have from your childhood years by looking this kind of thing that you have on your hands.
I'll start.
Go ahead.
I used to play chess with my grandfather when I was a kid. This is a knight from a chess set.
Oh, wow. So you chose specifically.
Well, when you held up all the objects, I was like, oh, I know that one. So that's why I picked. I didn't know what the question was going to be.
Yeah, that was a question. Do you still play the chess?
Yes.
I have a childhood memory. So this is going to be a weird one. You ready? This looks kind of witchy to me. There's a pentagram in here. It's, kind of magical looking. So when I was young, my mother used to go to this woman named Ruby, who was a person who channeled spirits. And
Keep going, I like the story.
Ruby she was channeling a spirit that was supposedly my dead grandmother. And she said that she had to see me. So she would go on Saturday, my mom would go on Saturdays to see Ruby in a group ceremony, and they would read Catholic prayers, and then Ruby would kind of rock back and forth, and her eyes would roll back into her head. She had long red hair, and all these ladies were Mexican, including my mother, and this is it's Mexican culture, I guess. So Ruby would rock back and forth, and she would change her demeanor, and then suddenly she would speak, and she would be channeling, and it didn't mean that the spirit would had to be dead, or a dead person. It could be an alive person that she was channeling their essence. And Ruby told me not to go to Austin, Texas. I grew up in Dallas, and I said, well, I don't have any plans to go to Austin. And she said, don't go, because if you do, you'll be in danger. And I said, okay, well, I don't have any plans, so I'm not planning on going. So that was on a Saturday. The next Monday, and I was in the choir at my school. The choir director announced, we planned a trip that's happening in 3 weeks to Austin. And I said, I can't go. And they said, well, you have to go because we voted you to be the choir president for next year. So it was not my last year in high school, it was the year before. And I had been voted the choir president. So they said, well, you're obligated to go, you have to go. And I was like, I can't go.
You didn't go?
Well, they said, why? And I said, I don't think you would understand. And so one of the things that this group of witches would always say is, if you speak something aloud, you can make it go away. So I said to my mother, I don't know if this is true, but I have to say it. We're supposed to go to Austin, the choir director is forcing me to go, and I don't know what to do because Abuelita, through Ruby, said not to go. So I'm speaking it aloud, hoping that it'll go away. Well, the next day, the choir director said, not enough people signed up, so I guess we're not going, the trip is canceled.
Now it's your turn, and then yours. The hourglass, okay, because you don't have time.
Yeah, it's going to be really boring.
We are running? No.
It's going to be really boring.
After that...
I remember being a little boy, and my mom, in her kitchen drawer, had a couple of these hourglasses. They were really very simple. It was really just like a glass vial with a narrow in the middle, and they were obviously for cooking eggs. And I remember my mom never ever used them for cooking, for boiling eggs, but they were just in the kitchen drawer, and I just remember being a little boy and having that hourglass and finding that the most wonderful, fascinating thing.
Wow.
I'm just
great,
looking
okay.
at it.
That's good.
That's all.
Still yours is the most interesting. Let's go here. Do you have it? You can make 3 wishes. Can you do that?
Exactly. I'm not going to tell you what they are. The only memory that I have with a shape of this like that is looking at Aladdin, as a kid. And the wishes, but I don't have any other memory other than that, because that's very specific. And in France, you wouldn't see that very often. So that just reminds me as a kid watching something and having fun.
That's great, but you are going to keep that, and you can make 3 wishes on your own. I don't want to know.
Okay.
I don't want to know.
All right.
Thank you, honestly, for this wonderful interview. You are all wonderful, and I cannot wait to hear your divine voices.
Thank you.
Thank you so
very
much.
much.
Ya no quiero despertar.